Now, I can only imagine what it's like for a new player to jump into Warframe and start looking up builds in 2026. Just maybe a little bit overwhelming. But be honest, let me know in the comment section below what was your first impression of looking up Warframe builds, whether on the forums, Reddit, websites, YouTube, when you first started playing the game, when all you wanted was a little bit more power. So let's have some fun and remind ourselves of what you need to make a build work, because Warframe has a lot of incredibly niche, powerful builds, casual builds, and of course, endurance, go hard builds. Builds with a lot of cogs spinning in the background that make them work as well as they do, like the weird Araxia melee influence setup you're seeing on screen right now, which detonates whole rooms without her really doing anything. It's an old interaction, but it is very effective. It requires melee influence, a chroma subsume, or Spinner X passive, and a sentinel to activate melee influence, and enemies kind enough to just blow themselves up. Now, new players want just a little bit more power, right? They want to survive a bit longer and just get a little bit stronger, and 5 minutes after looking up a build, they find out that it needs Tau Forged Archon shards, multiple maxed arcanes, primed mods, rare mods, helmet ability, a primo weapon, a companion setup that should have its very own build guide, Archon mods, focus school interactions, incarnates for mobility, amalgam mods for mobility, and some weird ability interaction that sounds like it was discovered during a session where the person was 3 sheets to the wind and has had enough sugar to set themselves into feckin' orbit. Not to mention running Archon hunts, Deep and Temporal Archimedia, Netrocells, Kim Weeklies, Descendia, so on. You get the point, right? I wouldn't blame new players for going, oh, you know what, feck it. I'll just play something else, lads. Jesus, what even is this game? For vets, it all makes sense, but maybe we take it a little bit for granted because we've played through a lot of these things ourselves as they were added into the game, as they were implemented. And I know I do at times. It's part of the reason why I try to put basic new player setups in a lot of my videos. Sometimes I forget, but most times I don't, because if I don't, I get a comment that's basically along the lines of, oh great, all I need to make this build work is absolutely feckin' everything under the sun. So you open up a video, for example, titled something like Varuna Prime is insane, and the first thing you see is maybe a Prime sure-footed, a mod that you get by logging in for 400 days. Don't worry about it, just play the game for a year and then you might get a little bit better. Then comes the Arcanes. Just use Molt Augmented, Arcane Energize, Arcane Aegis, Persistence, Hotshot, Steadfast, the list goes on. It'd be grand, don't worry about it. Then you check the price of the items in the market or what farm you're going to have to do, and suddenly the build that you're looking up has become a face-scrunching decision. Then you talk about Archon shards, not the normal ones either, they have to be Tau Forged, because regular Archon shards are for space peasants and you don't want to be a space peasant. All of your imaginary friends are going to laugh at you. Now, these of course aren't mandatory for your build either, which is true in the same way the tires aren't mandatory for a car. Technically, yes, the build will still move, it will still work, it's just going to be a lot less useful. Then there are, I guess, the rarer mods for newer players, okay? Blind Rage, Transient Fortitude, Overextended, Narrow-Minded, Rolling Guard, Adaptation, Catalyzing Shields, Prime Continuity, Prime Flow, Humble mods, the list goes on. As your new player, you're not going to have these. You'll have the base versions of a lot of different mods, but you won't have these, so you have to get these first. All you need is a complete understanding of Warframe's modding system and the patience of a monk in a brothel, and you're good to go. Then you have Archon mods, right? You throw on Archon Stretch and it'll fix your energy issues. Absolutely lovely, no more trouble. Then your build starts needing ability combos. You cast this, then you cast that, then you strip armor, then you group up enemies, then you use your fourth, then you refresh your second, then you do the river dance, then you do the do-si-do, then you make your arcane has to be active as well, then you make sure your companion hasn't wandered off to sniff a wall or a corpus engineer's butthole. And then the list of requirements for that build just keeps going. Now you have to prime them, okay? So first you need to spray them with viral, with radiation, corrosive, magnetic, and maybe a small amount of paprika. You're no longer fighting enemies, you're seasoning them. You pull out a weapon you don't actually want to kill them with, apply 7 different status effects just to kill them with something else, which kind of confirms that we are the bad guys. And look, it just works. That's the annoying thing. All of this nonsense works. Then comes the helmet, because apparently the frame that you clicked the video for isn't enough. No. Now you need to rip an ability out of another Warframe and stuff it face first into a meat wall. Just use Nourish, just use Roar, just use Pillage, just use Gloom, just use a whole other fucking Warframe. Grand, no bother. Now the build needs the frame in the video, another frame to sacrifice, the helmet system unlocked, the resources to feed it, and it needs you to watch your whole other Warframe get eaten by a wall. And don't forget companions, because your cat, your dog, your robot, your floating sentinel also has a job now as well. It spreads status, it makes energy, it strips armor, it keeps you alive, it nukes rooms with contagion, and if it dies, the entire build suddenly feels a lot weaker. So when a build says infinite energy, what it actually means is infinite energy as long as your pet survives, the Archon mod procs, the enemy density is good, and the ability that you're running is active as well, and of course your shards are installed. And that's maybe the funny thing about Warframe builds. A lot of the builds are incredibly good, insanely powerful, especially with the power creep kind of exponentially increasing over the last few years with Warframe, and the addition of a lot of these really powerful items like Archon mods, Archon shards, and so on, that sometimes we explain them like they're much easier than they actually are, especially from the perspective of a new player, because we've played for so long that everything just seems normal to us because we've been there as these items have been added into the game. So when a build says it deletes Steel Path, it does. It genuinely does on a fully built account with maxed mods, with maxed arcanes, with shards, with maxed focus, maybe with a primer, with a companion setup, with a helmet, with Umbral, Normal or Omniforma, with years of accumulated nonsense in your account quietly holding everything together. And like Total Biscuit said years ago, Warframe is pretty much layers on top of layers on top of layers. Now meanwhile, a newer player will copy half of the build, load into a mission, and will be confused as to why they're not getting the same damage numbers, or it's not being as effective as it is in the video or in the guide. Because Warframe builds are not just simple, especially for new players, and I'm including myself in this, in I guess taking things for granted, because making Warframe build videos is basically spending time recording and editing while double checking stuff on the wiki, because DE changes stuff so regularly over the years in hotfixes that what was once an interaction is no longer an interaction, and sometimes we miss things, which means the build isn't as effective or nearly as effective as it should be. So if you're new to Warframe and you look up a build guide where the requirements look like a fucking mortgage application or maybe doing your taxes, then don't panic, right? That's totally normal. You build towards it. You use the cheaper mods, you skip the comfort stuff, you make the bad version first, then the slightly less bad version, then eventually, after enough farming, forma, and questionable choices, you will build the full version, just in time for DE to rework the Warframe, and your build to be completely redundant. No, I'm only joking, that doesn't happen at all. Now anyway, let me know what your first reaction was when you first started looking up Warframe guides for builds, whether on the forums, on Reddit, on other websites, on YouTube, on Twitch, and so on. When you started to see that long list of items you were going to have to be required to farm in order to bring a build online. Do me a huge favour and hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, or don't if you didn't. This was kind of just the ramblings of a potato, I guess. Have a great day, have a great week or weekend, and as always, thanks for watching.